I am 92 years old. By the time you hear these words, I may already be gone. The doctors say my heart is tired, not broken, not sick in a dramatic way, just tired. I don't feel afraid. What surprises me is this. When you are about to leave the world, you don't think about your awards. You don't think about your bank account. You don't think about who won the arguments. You think about the moments you rushed, the people you hurt, the calls you didn't return, and the strange, quiet question that sits in your chest. Was I truly happy, or just busy? If you are young, if you are lost, if you are chasing something and don't even know what it is, sit with me. Let me tell you what I learned too late. Who I am. My name is Samuel Carter. I was born in 1934. I grew up in a small town with one grocery store, one church, and a train that passed twice a day. We didn't have much money, but I didn't know that at the time. When you're a child, love feels like wealth. My father was a mechanic. My mother cleaned houses. I was the first in my family to go to college. I built a business. I married the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. I had 2 children. From the outside, my life looked successful. From the inside, it was complicated. I made money. I made mistakes. I made promises I didn't keep. And now, lying in this quiet room, I finally understand what mattered. Let me give you the lessons I paid for with time. I am 92 years old. When I was 24, I believed one thing with all my heart. If I become successful, I will finally feel enough. I worked endlessly. 14 hours a day was normal. I skipped birthdays. I skipped family dinners. I skipped myself. I remember one night like it happened yesterday. My son, Michael, was turning 6. He had been talking about it for weeks, what cake he wanted, which friends he wanted to invite, the candles he would blow out. And that same day, I had a deal, a business deal that I convinced myself would change everything. I told myself, if I close this, I'm securing our future. I'm doing this for my family. I stayed. The deal was over by 9:30 p.m. I walked into my house and everything was dark, silent, empty. On the kitchen table was a small paper plate, a single slice of chocolate cake covered with plastic wrap, and a note in my wife's handwriting. He waited as long as he could. I couldn't sleep that night, or many nights afterward. Success is loud. Regret is quiet. I learned that our culture mistakes achievement for meaning. We measure ourselves by what we acquire, titles, promotions, awards, numbers, but love and time, those are impossible to measure, and they are the only things that truly matter when the end is near. I worked for decades thinking that happiness would arrive with recognition. But happiness had been waiting in the small moments I ignored. The birthday candles I missed. The laughter in the kitchen I thought I'd catch up on later. Psychologically, I understand now why I did it. Ambition hijacks your brain. Dopamine spikes with wins, with praise, with achievement. You become addicted to measurable validation. And slowly, imperceptibly, you neglect the immeasurable. The people you love, your health, your soul. Young people, hear me clearly. If your child, your partner, your parent, your friend asks for your time and you say later too many times, one day there will be no more later. No deal, no promotion, no investment can ever replace a missed moment. I remember Michael's 6-year-old eyes, full of hope, full of expectation. I remember the way he blew out that candle alone. That silence followed me for decades. Sometimes, in quiet moments, I still imagine what it would have been like if I had been there. Just there. That's the price of chasing success without knowing what success truly is. And now, sitting here, my body weak but my mind awake, I know this. Success is a loud lie. The quiet moments of love, attention, presence, they are the only truths that last. I am 92 years old, and I have lived long enough to see love in its rawest forms. beautiful, messy, fragile, and enduring. When I was 28, I thought I understood love. I met Eleanor at a dance. She was laughing, her eyes catching the light like the sun glinting off a river. I thought, this is it. This is the one. And for a moment, I believed in fairy tales. We married when I was 30. The early years were blissful, or so I thought. Chemistry, shared jokes, long walks, promises whispered under streetlights. But marriage is not tested in blissful years. Marriage is tested in the tired years. In the years when life is heavy, when the bills stack up, when the children cry, when your dreams don't go as planned. That is when love shows its truth. By the time I was 42, my business was struggling. I was stressed, short-tempered, often angry for no reason. I was preoccupied with survival, growth, and ego. I would come home, exhausted, and retreat into silence. Eleanor tried to reach me. "Talk to me," she said. "Sit with me." I would nod absent-mindedly, then continue reading a financial report or staring at the ceiling, pretending to rest. I remember one night in particular. She was sitting on the edge of our bed, her hands folded, her eyes tired. I had ignored her for hours. "I feel lonely next to you," she said. The words hit me like a hammer. Lonely. Next to me. I froze. My stomach sank. I wanted to apologize, to explain, to hold her, but the truth is, I didn't know how. I was ashamed, but I was also scared. Scared that vulnerability would make me weak. Scared that admitting I was wrong would make me lose control. That night, I realized a painful truth. You can betray someone without ever leaving them. Neglect is a quiet betrayal, and pride is the most dangerous thief in a marriage. Psychologists call this emotional withdrawal. When life stresses us, our natural instinct is to retreat, to protect our ego. We tell ourselves we need space, that our partner will understand, that love is permanent. But intimacy requires presence, vulnerability, risk. And when you retreat too often, you don't just hurt your partner, you hurt yourself. I spent years thinking, did I marry the right person? Now, I know the question is wrong. The right question is, am I showing up as the right partner? Love is not about finding perfection. It's about growth, transformation. Becoming the person your partner needs, not in a manipulative way, but in a conscious, selfless, aware way. There were so many moments I failed Eleanor. Small moments. Moments that seemed insignificant at the time. Like forgetting to ask about her day, or dismissing her opinion, or focusing on my work while she cried quietly in another room. And then there were the bigger mistakes, the arguments I refused to resolve, the nights I left angry, the times I chose pride over connection. I remember a particular fight when our daughter Clara was 10. I had been working late again. Eleanor asked me to come upstairs to help with her homework. I said, "Not now. I'm busy." The look in her eyes, both Eleanor's and Clara's, haunts me still. Clara's small shoulders slumped, Eleanor's lips trembled, and I walked away thinking I was doing what was best. Years later, Clara said to me, "I always wished you had just been there, Dad. Not perfect, not smart, just there." I could feel the weight of all those not nows. Love is not a feeling that magically lasts forever. Love is a practice. It is a choice you make every single day, even when you are tired, even when you are angry, even when life disappoints you. And here's something else I learned, painfully. The person you marry will not complete you. They cannot. No one can. You will enter marriage with wounds, insecurities, illusions, and your partner will have theirs. The magic happens when you become the right person, when you heal, when you grow, when you choose kindness over pride, patience over irritation, understanding over judgment. I became a better husband, not because Eleanor changed me, but because I realized I was the only one who could. That realization comes late, sometimes too late. Psychologists call this self-authorship, taking responsibility for your behavior, your emotions, and your contribution to the relationship. Waiting for someone else to change is a trap. Real love is co-creation, growth together, meeting halfway, even when the halfway seems impossible. I spent years being selfish, thinking my sacrifices at work were enough to earn her love. They were not. And the truth is, no external achievement can substitute for emotional presence. If I could go back, I would hold her more. I would listen more. I would apologize more, even when it was uncomfortable. I would choose connection over pride every single day. I would have understood sooner that love is not a reward for achievement. It is the foundation of life itself. Young people, listen to this carefully. You will not find the right person. You will meet someone human. You will have disagreements, disappointments, and misunderstandings. You will hurt each other, and they will hurt you. But here is the secret. The question is never, did I marry the right person? The question is always, am I showing up fully, every day, as the person capable of love, forgiveness, and presence? Because if you do, you will build a love that survives storms, mistakes, and time itself. If you don't, time will pass, and you will wake up one day, decades later, realizing the person you failed to become is yourself. Eleanor passed away 6 years ago. I think about her every day. I still feel regret for the moments I withdrew, for the silence I chose over conversation, for the pride I valued more than love. But I also feel gratitude. Gratitude for her patience, her tenderness, and her unwavering belief in me, even when I did not deserve it. And here, at 92, I can finally say, love is not about finding perfection. It is about becoming the person worthy of it. It is about showing up every single day, even when you are tired, even when you are afraid, even when the world tells you there are more important things. Because the world will never ask if you were rich enough, smart enough, or ambitious enough. The world will only ask, did you love enough? And that question lasts longer than anything else. By now, I have outlived both of my parents, and it is one of the quietest, heaviest pains I carry. When I was in my early 30s, I thought I had time, endless time. I thought my parents were permanent, like the mountains outside our house, or the river that ran through town. Solid, unchanging, always there. But they were not. I remember when I was 31. My father, John, began walking slower. Not just the usual creak of old age, but slower. He paused at corners, leaned a little more on his cane, sighed a little heavier after every step. I was too busy with work to notice. By the time I was 34, he needed help fixing things around the house that he had once done with ease. The shelves he built himself wobbled. The leaky faucet he had always fixed without a second thought now required my hand, guiding his. At 36, he stopped driving at night. He told me, I don't feel steady behind the wheel anymore. And I nodded. Of course, Dad, I said. Safety first. And then I went back to my own life. I thought I had more time. I always thought I had more time. But life has a cruel way of teaching us otherwise. The last conversation I had with my father is burned into my memory. I had called to tell him I would visit that Sunday. Take your time, he said. Those 4 words echoed through my mind for decades. I thought nothing of it. I had work to do, meetings, deadlines, dinner plans. I assumed Sunday would come, and Sunday came, and went, and by Monday, he was gone. I never saw him alive again. For years I replayed those words. Take your time. Now I understand what he really meant. I don't know how many more Sundays I have left. I am fading, and I wish I could hold your hand before it's too late. Your parents are disappearing while you are busy. We grow up thinking time is infinite, that they will always be there, waiting for our return, that there will always be another phone call, another weekend, another holiday. And so we postpone. We say, I'll visit next weekend. I'm too busy right now. I'll call later. She'll understand. She knows I love her. But one day, later, never comes. Psychologically, this is called the temporal illusion. Humans have a natural tendency to believe the future will always resemble the present. We assume there will be another chance, another opportunity, another moment to make it right. But the clock is always moving, and it is not patient. I learned this the hardest way with my mother. My mother, Margaret, was a quiet woman with hands that smelled of bread and soap. She was small, but she carried the weight of the world with grace. When I was in my 40s, I was too busy building my business to notice her slipping memory, the way she repeated stories, the way she needed help with the simplest tasks. I assumed she was fine. I assumed I had time. When she passed, I was working overseas. I couldn't get back in time. I never heard her voice say goodbye, and I can still hear her in my dreams. A faint whisper, a soft call. Samuel. The irony is cruel. We spend so much of our lives chasing things that do not matter: status, money, recognition, while the people who gave us everything fade quietly, almost invisibly. Young people, this is my warning to you. Your parents are not permanent. Your presence is the most valuable gift you will ever give them. It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be perfect. Call them tonight, not tomorrow. Sit with them while they tell the same story for the 100th time. Hold their hands while they sleep. Ask them about their past. Ask them about their fears. Ask them about the small joys they still cling to. Because one day, all you will have left is silence. I regret every Sunday I skipped, every call I postponed, every time I told myself, I'll do it later. Time is relentless. It doesn't wait for ambition or pride or excuses. It takes our parents piece by piece, silently, until one day they are gone. And we are left with memories, some beautiful, some haunting, and many filled with regret. I try to imagine what it would have been like if I had been there more, if I had listened more, if I had truly seen them, not just glanced at them between tasks. I would have held my father's hand on Sunday mornings. I would have baked bread with my mother, like she loved to do. I would have told them I loved them, not just assumed they knew. Even now, I carry that lesson like a stone in my chest. It weighs me down, yes, but it also guides me. If you are young and watching this, let me ask you, when was the last time you called your mother just to hear her voice? When was the last time you sat quietly with your father without distractions? When was the last time you truly showed them that they are loved, that they are important, that they matter? I tell you this not to make you feel guilty. I tell you this because you still have time. Not infinite time, but enough time if you choose wisely. Do not wait for perfect moments. There are none. Do not wait for convenient days. They will never come. Your parents are disappearing while you are busy. And the truth is, one day you will understand the silence you once ignored. That silence will haunt you more than any mistake you make in life. And yet, there is hope. You can still show up. You can still be present. You can still choose love over busyness, attention over distraction, presence over productivity. Because when all else fades, what remains is not your career, your money, or your achievements. It is the love you gave, the moments you shared, the time you chose to be there. Remember this: the hands that once held you will not wait forever. The voices that guided you will not echo endlessly. The hearts that loved you unconditionally will not remain if you do not notice them. I learned too late. But maybe you will learn in time. Call them tonight. Sit with them tomorrow. Listen. Love. Be present. Because one day, all you will have left is the quiet. I have learned many things in my long life, but one of the hardest lessons came with wealth. I believed, as many do when they are young, that money would solve everything, that it would protect me, give me power, buy respect, and, most importantly, buy happiness. I was 50 when I first realized I was wealthy. I had worked for decades, building a business from the ground up, sacrificing evenings, weekends, and entire years for the promise of financial freedom. I had the house, the car, the vacations, the accounts that gave me a sense of security I had never felt before. And yet, I was miserable. It's strange, but the more money I made, the more I felt anxious. Every decision seemed heavier. Every phone call, every meeting, every investment carried consequences I could barely control. The security I thought I was buying slipped through my fingers like water. There was a day I remember clearly. I had just closed a deal that earned me more than I had ever imagined possible in a single afternoon. I was driving home, feeling a hollow kind of pride. I expected joy. I expected relief. I expected happiness. And instead, I felt nothing. I got home to an empty house. Eleanor had gone to visit her mother. Michael was at a friend's house. Clara was working late at university. And in that silence, I realized something painful. Money cannot hug you. Money cannot call you. Money cannot remember your birthday or tell you she loves you without words. I became obsessed. I checked the stock market constantly, monitored investments, worried about taxes, and calculated risks. I measured my self-worth in numbers, not in love or presence. I thought, if I just earn a little more, everything will finally feel right. But it never did. There was a year when I made more money than I had in my entire life combined. I thought I would finally feel safe, content, and proud. And yet, that same year, my daughter Clara stopped calling as often. She said, "You never have time for me, Dad. I know you're busy making money, but I miss you." I remember sitting in my study, surrounded by contracts, statements, and bills, and feeling the weight of all my success. It pressed down on me. The irony was unbearable. I had worked so hard to provide for my family, yet in my pursuit, I had drifted away from them. Money, I realized, solves problems. Yes, it pays for food, shelter, and medicine. It can open doors, provide opportunities, and create comfort. But when it becomes the center of your identity, it begins to create problems no currency can fix. Anxiety, isolation, mistrust, pride, and fear creep in quietly, almost invisibly, until they become your companions. I remember a night when I was 55. I woke in the middle of the night, heart pounding, haunted by an uneasy question. Did I spend my life chasing numbers instead of moments? And then I thought of my parents. My father, who had worked hard all his life, yet spent little time with me. My mother, who baked bread and washed dishes and told stories that I didn't listen to because I thought I was too busy building my future. I saw my reflection in the mirror, a successful man on paper, a lonely man in practice, a man who could count his wealth but not his love. Psychologically, this makes sense. Money triggers what we call the hedonic treadmill. We always want more. The thrill of acquisition is short-lived. It fades quickly, and we immediately set our sights on the next goal. It is a cycle that leads to endless pursuit without satisfaction. Meanwhile, the things that truly feed the soul, love, presence, kindness, are ignored because they are not measurable, not immediate, not rewarded with instant gratification. I wish someone had told me this when I was 25. That money can amplify life, but it can never replace the things that give it meaning. That financial success without emotional investment is hollow. that the joy of seeing your child succeed cannot be bought, it must be experienced. And the irony, the cruel irony, is that money can create illusions of happiness while stealing the very things that make us truly happy. I remember a day I gave my son Michael a car when he turned 18. A brand new, shiny, expensive car. I expected gratitude, love, respect. What I got was a shrug. Not because he didn't love me, but because he wanted something I could not buy. Presents. My absence over years had created a silent gap that even the most luxurious gifts could not fill. I had built a life chasing money like oxygen, only to discover it cannot breathe for you. Young people, listen to this carefully. Earn money. Build security. Strive for independence. But do not make it your identity. Do not let it dictate the quality of your relationships, the depth of your presence, or the honesty of your heart. Because when you finally stop running, when you are old and looking back, what will matter is not your portfolio. It will be the people you loved, the hands you held, the moments you truly saw, not the zeros in your bank account. I still remember the day I realized I needed to change. I was 57, sitting in my office surrounded by papers, and I asked myself a question I wish I had asked decades earlier. Do you want to be rich, or do you want to be happy? The answer was simple. I wanted both. But I understood the truth. Happiness comes first. Money is a tool, a servant, not a master. So I began to prioritize differently. I started attending Clara's recitals, even if it meant missing a meeting. I began spending quiet Sundays with Eleanor, just talking. I learned to enjoy my wealth by using it to create experiences, not distractions. I learned that a meal shared, a story listened to, a hand held, mattered more than any luxury car or lavish trip. But the lesson was expensive. I paid for it in lost moments, missed birthdays, silences in the house, and grief that could not be undone. If you are young, do not wait until you are 50 to understand this. Money is a powerful tool, but it can also be a quiet thief. It steals your time, your attention, and sometimes even your relationships if you let it. Use it wisely. Use it to build, not to hide. Use it to support life, not to replace it. And never, ever let the pursuit of wealth overshadow the pursuit of love, presence, and meaning. Because one day you will sit in a quiet house, looking at your accomplishments, and ask yourself a question that cannot be answered by numbers. Did I live, or did I just accumulate? I have lived, and I have accumulated. I have loved, and I have lost. And the thing I cherish most now is not the money I earned, but the lessons I learned too late, and the moments I finally chose to grasp before it was too late.